Before I start this video, I got something to say to a certain person. Don Lemon, you're a disgrace to news reporters. You're a disgrace to Christians. You're a disgrace to America and to the human race. You're a scum found on the bottom of people's shoe. You're not even worthy of shit. You go into the house of the Lord and attacking people, then claiming to be Christian. You're nothing but atheist, nothing but garbage. And I hope and pray when they catch your ass, they throw the book at you. Not only do you violate two amendments, 1876 Amendment, Klan Reform, and the facial movement, by attacking Christian sites. I hope when they do get you, they throw you in a cell with Diddy. Alright? Not no local jail, no other jail. Throw you in the jail with Diddy. And walk away. Back to the video.
Minneapolis a little bit ago and did some reconnaissance on the ground, speaking to an organization there that's gearing up for resistance and protest. I've been pleasantly surprised to see the community coming together. Diverse community. If you see this, when we first pulled up, we're like, wait a minute, which operation are we at? And as it turns out, because we were like, well, this is kind of MAGA coded, right? Saw the American flag or whatever, but these are resistance protesters. They're planning an operation that we're going to follow them on. I can't tell you exactly what they're doing, but it's called Operation Pull Up, and it's Takima Armstrong, and she has been doing this since George Floyd, Dante Wright, and others, where they surprise people, catch them off guard, and hold them to account. And so that's what we're doing here. And then after we do this operation, you'll see it live. And these operations are surprise operations. Again, I can't tell you where they're going.
In Minneapolis, Minnesota, a group of activists led by Don Lemon stormed a Baptist church by the name of Cities Church during their worship time. They were screaming and chanting, disrupting the singing and the preaching, because they suspected an ICE officer may attend the church. This is a violation of what is known as the FACE Act. And not only do we condemn this act, but tonight I want to demand that the Department of Justice investigate what took place in Minneapolis, apprehend those who broke the law, and arrest them accordingly.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So we got to follow up on the backlash that Donna Lemonade is currently experiencing for invading a Minneapolis church with woke extremist protesters interrupting services and refusing to leave after being told that, hey, you're trespassing, you need to leave. Now, the reason why these extremists pulled up to this church is because allegedly the pastor was working with ICE, or somebody was a member of the congregation that's an ICE officer. It has something to do with ICE, right? Something about the church they didn't like because of ICE, and they decided to invade the church while they're trying to worship, okay? And now they're getting a whole lot of backlash for it, okay? Because people are saying that they should be arrested, including Don Lemon, for violating what is known as the FACE Act.
Today we had the honor to protest with Takima Armstrong and the Racial Justice Network. Just like Jesus did, we went into that church and we flipped tables peacefully.
Peacefully, my ass.
In your house, the spaces you walk in your house in order.
Renee Good! Renee Good! Renee Good! Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Where are your people? Why are you not at Whipple every day fighting for the humanity? standing for our people. Where are you? You drink your coffee, you got your jewelry, you have your nice clothes, but what do you do? What do you do to stand for your Somali and Latino communities? I'm not going to comment. You have no comment, exactly. Renee, good. Renee, good.
Freedom! We have a duty to win!
We must love and support one another.
All right, y'all, quick break from the show because this is important. Look, we talk a lot here about standing up for yourself, not letting big corporations, the government, or anybody else push you around. But what happens when real life hits, car accidents, workplace injuries, medical mistakes, and suddenly you're the little guy going up against a massive insurance company? Well, that's where Morgan & Morgan comes in. There's a reason reporters never run out of breaking news. Just like there's a reason Morgan & Morgan is America's largest injury law firm. They've recovered over $25 billion for 500,000 clients with more than 1,000 lawyers nationwide, and they're built on one simple idea. For the people, that means when you're hurt, you don't pay them a dime up front. They only get paid if you win. And trust me, these big companies have teams of big lawyers working against you. You need somebody just as powerful fighting for you. When you hire Morgan & Morgan, it's like hiring a legal army that has your back. If you're injured because of somebody else's negligence, you deserve to be paid. So if you've been hurt in an accident, at work, or anywhere in between, don't roll the dice alone. You can check out Morgan & Morgan. Their fee is free unless they win. You can start your claim now by clicking the link in the description or by scanning the QR code on screen from your phone's camera. Because at the end of the day, protecting yourself and your family isn't just common sense, it's conservative values in action.
Yeah, I can't believe I'm saying this, but the same crowd that formed an angry mob yesterday to attack American citizens in Minneapolis, today they formed an angry mob to attack a Baptist church in St. Paul, Minnesota, and they took Don Lemon with them. No, really, the same people who were quote-unquote protecting Somalis yesterday, here they are attacking a Baptist church. Now, this act of domestic tea is reportedly because the pastor has some affiliation with ICE. Listen to how Don Lemon tries to justify their actions, the actions of attacking a church during worship service.
For some reason, in our modern era, people think that in order to have protests, you got to be, cordoned off to a certain area, and what time you can protest. There's nothing in the Constitution that tells you what time you can protest. You can protest at any time. That's the whole point of it, is to disrupt, is to make uncomfortable, and that's what they're doing.
Only the free exercise of religion, which is being trampled on by these protesters here. So yesterday, a man was nearly ripped limb from limb for going to protest Somali fraud. Today, they attack a church while Don Lemon sits in the corner pontificating on how this is just a natural extension of the civil rights movement, because that's what he says in the rest of the clips. This isn't anything resembling the civil rights movement. This is domestic terrorism against American citizens now in our houses of worship. This is the extended tantrum of people who couldn't get their way at the ballot box and are now seeking to overwhelm the will of we the people, the majority of Americans who voted precisely for this. Your plan is to do so by constant intimidation and repeated acts of domestic terrorism. Trump, invoke the Insurrection Act. Call in the troops. It's way past time.
So basically put, Don Lemon and all of those protesters that ran up in that church are violating the FACE Act of 1994. If you don't know what it is, familiarize yourself with it. You cannot just walk into a church and intentionally disrupt them practicing the freedom of worship. It's not your part to say, well, we just want to go in and disrupt everything. Disruption is how you end up in jail, according to the FACE Act of 1994. The Freedom of Access to Clinic Entrances Act of 1994, also known as the FACE Act, is a U.S. law protecting access to reproductive health services in places of religious worship, prohibiting using force, threats, or physical obstruction to stop people from obtaining care or exercising religious freedom. and preventing intentional damage to such facilities. Enacted in 1994, it allows for federal prosecution and civil remedies for violations, applying to both abortion clinics and churches. Through its enforcement and fairness have sparked debate, with some calling for a repeal and others for stronger application. Prohibits force threats, forbids using force, threats of force, or physical obstruction to stop anyone from obtaining or providing reproductive health services. Protects religious freedom. Extends similar protections to people exercising First Amendment rights at places of worship. Bans property damage. Makes it illegal to intentionally damage or destroy reproductive health facilities or places of worship. Now, these are probably the same people who were saying that ICE is not law enforcement. These people are paid protesters. They are not that intelligent. They're being told to go to places and do things without even knowing the laws that they're avoiding. Now, we already know 18 USC 111 is all about impeding law enforcement from doing their job. Prohibiting or impeding, intimidating, or harassing. They've already proven they can do that. So now that they can't go after law enforcement, they're going after churches now. What's next? They're going to start going after schools?
Yeah, don't give the extremists any ideas, right? Because any new ideas that they get, they'll probably act on them, and they'll end up, doing this, right? So the backlash is building, okay? So much so that the Trump administration has now chimed in on this, and that they're investigating what happened here. And we got to talk about it because Don Lemon is actually freaking out about the backlash. We're going to get into Don Lemon's freak out here. But first, let's listen in on what the administration is saying about these individuals facing investigation.
Good morning, and we're talking about what happened at this church in St. Paul. This shows the degree to which these protests have expanded in Minneapolis, and this particular incident is now triggering a federal investigation. A group of protesters stormed and disrupted a Sunday church service because of one of the pastor's possible connections to ICE. The U.S. Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights announced there would be a federal probe over this, writing this on X. The Civil Rights Division is investigating the potential violations of the Federal FACE Act by these people, desecrating a house of worship and interfering with Christian worshipers. The White House, meantime, is considering a federal troop deployment to Minnesota with 1,500 troops now on standby. President Trump has raised the possibility of invoking the Insurrection Act if the violent protests there continue, and that drew a swift rebuke from the mayor of Minneapolis.
This act was clearly designed to intimidate the people of Minneapolis, and here's the thing. We're not going to be intimidated. If the goal here is safety, we've got many mechanisms to achieve safety. Right now, we have about 600 police officers, and they've got 3,000 or so ICE agents and border control. That they are now talking about deploying 1,500 military. This is, well, it's ridiculous, but we will not be intimidated by the actions of this federal government.
Now, the troops are from the U.S. Army's 11th Airborne Division. They're based in Alaska, and they specialize in cold weather operations. They are now on standby should the president order them in. Todd?
Yeah, I think it's past time for the administration to go ahead and bring in the troops, right? We need to stop warning these Democrats and just do what we got to do. Just do what we got to do, okay? That's what we should be doing at this point. No more warnings for these people. No more warnings. Anyways, Attorney General Pam Bondi wrote, quote, I just spoke to the pastor in Minnesota whose church was targeted. Attacks against law enforcement and the intimidation of Christians are being met with the full force of federal law. Quote, if state leaders refuse to act responsibly to prevent lawlessness, this Department of Justice will remain mobilized to prosecute federal crimes and ensure that the rule of law prevails. Well, listen, we already know they're not going to do anything. So let's take this if out. We know they're not going to do anything. See, that's my problem with these people. They keep trying to give opportunities for Democrats to do the right thing. They're not going to do the right thing. So we need to go ahead and do it for them, right? It ain't no if. We already know they're not going to do anything. So let's get the arrests and the prosecutions going, okay? It's all on camera. We're going to go through it, right? And after we go through Don Lemon's freak out over this, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt in turn warned, quote, President Trump will not tolerate the intimidation and harassment of Christians in their sacred places of worship. I mean, he better not, right? He better not, considering how this administration went and, bombed another country on behalf of Christians, which I agree with, right? But if that's what we're going to do, then we need to make sure we're protecting Christians here in the United States of America, right? In our own country. So I want to see action from this administration, okay? There's zero excuse to not act because it's all on camera. It's all on camera. And this is why Don Lemon, again, is currently having a freak out, a meltdown over the backlash that he's getting because he literally recording himself breaking the law.
Fake right-wing propaganda news alert from this supposed right-angle news network, supposed network, that I led a protest into a church this morning in Minneapolis. That is complete BS. First of all, I had no idea who the organization was until I arrived this morning. And number two, that's what every journalist should be doing, exactly what I did. What I did was report, chronicle, and commit an act of journalism, which is what every journalist should be doing. That's what happened. So if you really want to know the truth about what happened, why don't you check it out at the Don Lemon Show on YouTube, on Substack, and on Twitch. And follow us on any of our socials if you really want to know the truth rather than getting some right-wing propaganda from a so-called news network. MAGA administration and the fake news MAGAs are losing their mind over something that's not even true. So let me just make it clear, because this assistant attorney general, I don't know, what's her name? Something Hammett, Dillon, or whatever. So I had no affiliation to that organization. I didn't even know they were going to this church until we followed them there. We were there chronicling protests. Once the protest started in the church, we did an act of journalism, which was report on it and talk to the people who were involved, which included the pastor, members of the church, and members of the organization. That's it. It's called journalism. First Amendment, all that stuff. For all of you people who believe in the First Amendment, absolutist, there you go. So why don't you talk to the actual person who is in charge of the organization and whose idea it was to have the protest at the church before you start blaming me for stuff for which you have no idea about. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
What do you think of this? I mean, this is unacceptable. It's shameful. It's shameful to interrupt a public gathering of Christians in worship. So,
but there were folks who will say,
I have to take care of my flock.
Okay, but listen, we live there's a constitution in the First Amendment to freedom of speech and freedom to assemble and protest.
We're here to worship. We're here to worship Jesus because that's the hope of these cities. That's the hope of the world is Jesus Christ.
I want to be very respectful. Please don't push me though.
We're here to worship Jesus.
Yes.
That's why we're here. Okay. That's why we're here. Okay. That's what we're about.
Do you think Jesus would be understanding and love these folks?
We're about spreading the love of Jesus.
But did you try to talk to them as a
no
Christian?
one is willing to talk.
Okay.
I have to take care of my church and my family, so I asked that you actually would also leave this building.
You don't want us to chronicle what happened?
Let's be here to worship.
I'm always worship. I'm a Christian.
We're here to worship. Yeah. We're here to worship. Okay.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So Don Lemon's in full-blown freak out, right? Because he's realizing that what he did, in my opinion, fits what would be defined as a violation of the FACE Act, okay? And that would be a federal civil rights violation if these protesters refuse to leave after being asked to leave, which they did refuse to leave. They disrupted worship, which they did. They blocked movement, which they did. They intimidated congregants or the clergy, which they did. Their purpose is to interfere with religious exercise, which it was, right? This is an interference with religious worship. This is a textbook violation of the law. And if it's not a textbook violation of the law, then what's the point? Even Don Lemon recorded kids being intimidated and admitted on camera that, hey, this is traumatic. AKA, they were intimidated, right? They basically made kids flee the church. Kids were not able to worship because of these lunatics.
Watch this guy here. Look, he's hugging his kid. And, you know, I imagine it's uncomfortable and traumatic for the people here. But again, careful. It's very slippery right here.
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable and traumatic for the people here, but that's what really, careful, please, really slippery. Not kidding. That's what protesting is about. And so.
Yeah. Protesting is about intimidating children from being able to worship in their church. This is what Don Lemon had said on camera. And the whole time, he was basically excusing what had happened, right? The whole time he was making excuses. Well, it's the First Amendment. No, it's not. The First Amendment does not allow you to protest on private property. That's not what it allows. Don Lemon on camera recorded the church members and the pastor telling them to leave multiple times. And they refused to leave. That's trespassing at the very least, which is a state crime. We know that the Democrats out in Minneapolis, Minnesota, they're not going to enforce that. So now, again, it's up to the federal government. If Pam Bondi can't arrest and charge these people and prosecute them successfully, throw the whole DOJ away. Just dismantle the whole thing. There's no reason to have it. There's no law and order in this country. If they cannot arrest, charge, and prosecute Don Lemon and the rest of these extremists successfully, throw the whole DOJ away. There's no point. They are worthless. They can't do anything. It's a failure of an institution. It's on camera. Everything is recorded. We have all the evidence right there on the internet for everybody to see. This was not just journalism. Don Lemon was a participant, and he admitted it on camera that he was participating.
Administration and the fake news magas are losing their mind over something that's not even true. I had no affiliation to that organization. I didn't even know they were going to this church until we followed them there. We were there chronicling protests. Once the protests started in the church, we did an active journal.
No, you activated with it. You participated with them. You joined in with them. You did not film the motherfucker. You joined in with it. Don Lemon, you are a human piece of shit. And I hope the community, the black community, turns their back on your ass. Back to the video. I'm sorry, but this fucking piece of shit, I want to walk up and just punch him one good time in his fucking face.
They're getting the operation together again. This is an operation that is secret, that they invited folks out. Can't tell you what is going to happen, but you're going to
bullshit. You know what's happening
on the Don Lemon Show. There are this reason looks that for this reason. It may look like MAGA coded, but there's a reason they have so many white people. I'm just going to be honest. It's because of the operation that they're doing today. It's important to have allies, as they said, white allies here. So that is what I could say. I turned the camera off of them because they're giving some critical information here. But there we go. Everybody's ready to go. Let's go. Okay. Thank you guys for for allowing me to be here. Okay, thank you guys.
Okay.
How are you?
Good.
See, we're on. We're not saying what it is.
Oh, I'm not supporting these protesters. I'm just here as a journalist. Why are you kissing the woman on the